Hey Math 6, good to see you guys this Monday. Hope everything's going well with you guys. Today we're going to be working on the areas of triangles and trapezoids. Okay, it's our second unit in geometry. All right, so the best way I'm going to teach this today is on the first page, each of the documents, the lighter document, which I always upload, and the darker document, for those of you guys who like to see it a little clearer. Those both have 5 pages. Okay, the first page is the only page you have to do, and that's the one that says homework 2. The next 4 pages are 2 pages of extra notes and 2 pages of answers for those notes in case you want to practice the topic a little bit more, or you like to keep a real organized notebook for tests and quizzes. That's extra work if you want it, but you don't have to do that. And I think you can learn enough doing this that you'll be okay with the way I teach it instead of on those notes. Okay, but it's up to you. So here we go. Basically, there's some formulas you need to know today. So if you guys can write these down, if they're not already on your paper, the area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. Some people like to write it like this, so base times the height over 2. All right. So just to give you an example, if the base was, let's say the base was 10 and the height was, say, 5. You don't have to write that down, but I'm just going to show you. If the base was 10, well, 1/2 of, if you do your order of operations, right, you move from left to right, because this one's here division. So you could actually say like 1 divided by 2 and get 0.5, okay? And then multiply 0.5 times the b, which is 10. So 0.5 times 10 is 5. I just like to think of it as putting the 10 here and say half of 10. So 1/2 of the number 10, and I'm getting 10. I just made up the 10. So 1/2 of 10 is 5, and 5 times 5 is 25. So your area would be 25. If you have it set up like this, then the base times the height would be 10 times 5 is 50, and 50 divided by 2 is 25. So either way you put, the formula gets you the same answer. I always learned it half the base times the height. Some people do base times height over 2. Okay, so whichever way you like it. I think I'm going to teach it this way today because that's the way the notes have it. Okay, and then the area of a trapezoid is over here. So write this down. A trapezoid, they want you to, actually, let's back up to triangle real quick. They want you to notice that a triangle is like, if you flipped it around and just took that triangle and kind of flipped it, 2 triangles back to back or side to side, or hypotenuse to hypotenuse, which you'll learn later. 2 of those make a rectangle. So we know that the area of a rectangle is length times width. So they want you to see that the area of a rectangle would be like this times this. So that's why the area of a triangle is half of this times this. You see 1/2 of the base times the height. They want you to see because the triangle is like half of that total amount of space. So if you took this total amount of space, the triangle is like half of it. So they want you to see that that's where the formula is coming from. There's a reason behind the formula. Okay. For the trapezoid, this is the formula. So it's 1/2 parentheses b1 plus b2. b1 would be like one of these bases, and b2 would be the other base. Okay, times the height. And we'll show you what the height means when you get into the problems. But for now, just make sure you write down this formula. That doesn't have to be written down. If you want to, that's fine. And make sure you have this formula. Okay, so you're writing down those 2. Please make sure you have those 2 formulas. Okay, now for the areas of triangles and trapezoids, okay, there's only 6 problems today, so I'm probably going to do about 4 of them with you, but let's just take a look. Find the area of a right triangle. So let's write down our formula. The area of a triangle is b times h over 2 with a height of 8.5 feet and a base of 15 feet. Okay, so we're going to plug these numbers in. My base is 15. That goes for b. My height is 8.5. That goes for h. And that's all over 2. Okay, now if you have a calculator, you can do that. I'm just going to come over here and do 15 times 8.5, right? Because that's 8.5 is the same as 8.5. So I'm going to go over here and do this. And since my decimal comes over once here, it's going to have to come over once here. So my area is 127.5, and that would be feet squared. And the reason why it's feet squared is because if you have feet times feet, that's feet squared, feet to the second power, okay? All right, let's look at number 4. Find the area of the triangle below. So we're going to write down our formula, right, for the area of a triangle, which we're getting up here. And now I'd like you to try this one. And the things you need to know is that on a triangle, this here, this is what we call the base. Think of like the base or the bottom of the triangle. And then the height is this one. So the height is the line that goes from a right angle. If you were to form a right angle on the base and go up to the tip of the triangle, that's what we call the height. So our height is this number. Okay, so go ahead and try that formula. Area equals base times height over 2. Go ahead, pause the video. Okay, now what you should have got is the base is 9, the height is 4.5. Maybe it's better to do that so that you don't get mixed up with like too many decimals here. Remember, that means multiplication. So we're saying 9, which is the base, multiplied by the height, all over 2. Once again, if you have a calculator, that's okay. Actually, when I came back to this problem, now that I'm thinking of it, I don't think I divided by 2 because I multiplied these out, and now I have to take half of that because I have this divided by 2. So that is not my answer. My answer is 127.5 over 2, okay, which would be if I come over here, which will be 63.75 feet squared. Okay, so just one more step. Once again, if you have a calculator, you can do that. Just make sure, some of you guys are having trouble when you divide decimals. You're having trouble knowing where those decimal points go. So you can kind of look what I did. You make sure your decimal point goes here and then just bring it up into the answer and divide like normal and you'll get your answer. Okay, so just make sure you know how to divide and multiply decimals if you need to, but you can use your calculator on that. All right, so coming back over to this one, we have 9 times 4.5. Well, I know that 9 times 4 is 36. And then 9 times a half would be 4.5. So 4.5 plus 36 would be 40.5 over 2. Okay. Then I know that half of 40 is 20, and half of 0.5 or 0.50, I think of it as like 0.50, 50 cents would be 0.25. So half of that would be 20 for the half of the 40, right? And for the half of the 0.50, it'd be 0.25. So your answer is 20.25 feet. In this case, it'd be meters squared. 20.25 meters squared. Okay, now, it looks like these are matching up with answers. So like for number 1, we got 63.75, and that's H. So every time I have a 1 down here, I'll put an H. And then our answer to number 2, or 4, I'm sorry, we did 4 next, right? Our answer number 4 was 20.25. So that's E. So for 4, we're going to put an E. Let's do a few more. All right, so we did the triangles. Now let's take a look at some of these trapezoids. So what they want you to know is to find the area of a trapezoid. You can use this formula. So let's go up to this formula. This one would be like B1. This would be like B2. Okay, and your height would be like, this here is your height. So it's on the same as a triangle. The height is like if you drew a right angle and went up straight, that's your height. Okay, so let's write down this formula. A equals 1/2 parentheses B1 plus B2. Times H. Okay, so I'm just taking this formula and I'm copying it down here. Okay, so my first step would be to find out what B1 and B2 are. Okay, B subset 1 would be one of these. Okay, maybe this top, we'll call this top one B1. So that's 6 plus your second base, B subset 2, would be like the 12. Because this is a base, right? This is like our first base, because if you had it upside down, that could be a base. If you, same with like a triangle, if you ever get a triangle like this, and the right angles here, then this is your base. Like even though it's upside down, that's your base. And then this one would be your height. Or if you want to, if this is your base, then that one would be your height. Because if you put it, if you pretend like you flipped it around and had it sitting on this, if that's your base, then that's your height. If you flipped it all around, had it sitting on this, then this is your base and that's your height. So same deal with this. We're going to call this base 1 and that base 2. So for B1, we'll put a 6. For B2, we'll put a 12. Times, and in this case, our height is this number. So that's our H. This is our B1. This is our B2. So for our H, we'll put in a 6. So area equals, we'll follow the order of operations, right? So parentheses first. So area equals 1/2 of 18. Because I'm doing the 6 plus the 12 first to get 18. Okay, now this means multiply here and multiply there. So I'm just moving left to right. Now some of you, you're going to say, Mr. Hesse, this means divide. Okay, I got you, because 1 divided by 2 gives you 0.5, right? And then 0.5 times 18 is like half of 18, so that gives you 9. So I just like to think of it as, what's 1/2 of that thing? Okay, 1/2 of that thing is 9. So area equals 9 times 6, or area equals 54. In this case, it's going to be inches squared. So for number 2, our answer is 54 inches squared. So we're going to come over here. It looks like for number 2, it's 54 is A. So for number 2, we'll put an A here, and A here. And the question says, what is black and white and has lots of problems? All right, I bet you some of you guys can figure that out. I honestly don't know yet, so I'm going to keep plugging. Let's look at number. Now, they also want you to know that you can decompose these things. So if you wanted to look at number 2 as like 2 triangles and a rectangle, that's a good way to look at trapezoids. Okay, so there's nothing wrong in decomposing it. You would just have to find the area of this, add the area of that, and then also add the area of that. So let's just do it together real quick, make sure we still come up with 54. What's the area of a square or a rectangle? It's length times width, right? So in this case, it would be 6, because this is 6 and this is 6. So the area would be 6 times 6, or the area of this part is 36 right there. Okay. Now the area of a triangle, if you remember, is base times height over 2. So in this case, well, we know our height is 6, right? How could we find out what these two bases are? Well, you'd have to get creative. You'd have to look how this is a 6 up here. So this portion from like here to here, this portion across here, from like this dot to this dot, that's 6 inches. So if the whole base is 12, it tells you the whole base is 12, right? If the whole thing is 12 and that's 6, then that have to be 3 here and 3 here, right? Because you'd get 3 plus your 6, that's 9, plus 3 more, that's 12. So this would have to be 3. So when you find the area of your triangle, it'd be area equals base times height over 2. So if our base is 3 and our height is, our base of this little triangle here is 3 and our height is 6, that's 3 times 6, which is 18. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So the area of this would be 9 and the area of this would be 9. Now if we add up 9 plus 36 plus 9, we should get 54. Okay, let's do it. 9 plus 36, well, that's 46 and 1 less, so that's 45. And then 45 plus 9 more would be 55, but 1 less because it's 9 and not 10, so 54. So you can also find the area of these things by something called decomposing them, taking them apart into different parts. And that's also a very good method. You may have to use that method sometimes. All right, so if we were to decompose, let's use that method on this next one. If we were, instead of using this big formula up here, which we can use that formula and get it right. It says find the area of the trapezoid below by decomposing it into familiar shapes. Okay, well this shape here is a rectangle, right? So the area of a rectangle equals length times width, or in this case 18 times 8, right? Because here's our length, here's our width, right? It doesn't really matter which is which. If this is your length, that's your width. It's still 8 times 18, which is the commutative property, right? When you change the order of two things when you're multiplying, it doesn't change the answer. Okay, so I'm trying to do this in my head while I'm talking. 18 times 8, well, I know that if this was like a 10 times an 8, that's 80. And then there's 8 more, so 8 times 8 is 64. So 80 plus 64, that's 144. So in this part, the area is 144 feet squared. Let me just make sure I just want to make sure I'm not giving you false information there. Okay, good. 144. All right, and then over here, we know that the area of a triangle equals base times height over 2. And that's one you're probably going to want to memorize. Actually, you are going to want to memorize, but for today, you can copy it down from the top of your paper up here. Right? Base times height over 2. So in this case, it would be the base is 6. The height is 8, right? The height is from here to here on a triangle. So it'd be 6 times 8 over 2, or 48 over 2, or 24. So 24 feet squared. So you got 24 feet squared for the triangle. You got 144 feet squared for the rectangle. So to find the area of all of that, you're going to have to add this area plus this area. So it'd be like 144 feet squared plus 24 feet squared. And that doesn't give you like feet to the fourth. It's still feet squared because you're adding them, okay? You're not multiplying them. Like when we multiply inches times inches, we get inches squared. But when we add feet squared plus feet squared, we just stay with the same ending of it, okay? So this would be 144 plus 20, that's 164, plus 4 more is 168. So your answer would be 168 feet squared. All right, so that's your answer. So let's come down, hopefully, yep. 168 here is M. So for problem number 5, we have M. What is black and white and has lots of problems? It looks like a math something. Math something. All right. So I'm going to let you guys do number 3 and 6 here. Let's look at number 6. I'm going to let you guys do number 3 on your own because we practiced that enough. So you'll either take this formula for the trapezoid and do it that way, or you'll do it by decomposing these shapes, okay? It's up to you which way you want to do it. Actually, this one I don't think you can decompose. So this one you're going to use the formula. The reason I don't think you can decompose this one is because we know that this is 4. So if this is 4, we know this is 4. And we know this is 3. But we'd have to be guessing at this number and this number. Because although the whole thing's 8, we can't just say, well, we think that this one's a 1 and that's a 3. It would just be speculation. So for number 3, you're going to have to use this formula. Okay. And what you'll do is you'll plug in for B1, you'll plug in 4, right? For B2, you'll plug in 8. And for height, you'll plug in 3. You'll chug that out, see what you get. Let's do number 6 because it's a little tricky. A triangle has an area of 38.4 centimeters squared. So if it's a triangle, we know that this is the formula. But what they're doing is they're giving you this number. A triangle has an area of 38.4. So they're giving you the A. The height of the triangle is 12.8 centimeters. Okay, and they want you to know the base. So they don't give you this. They give you this number, right? What is the length of the base? Okay, so to find that B, what you have to do is you got to do a few things. You got to like start undoing operations. So to undo a divide by 2, you have to times this by 2 and this by 2. So you got to like to undo like we were doing in the equations and the inequalities. To undo a divide by 2, you're going to have to times both sides by 2. This side will cross off. This side will give you twice of that, which is 76.8. So you got 76.8 equals B times 12.8, because all of this crosses off, right? Because 2 divided by 2 is 1, so that crosses off. So you still have your B times your 12.8. And now it's just a little simpler here. Some of you guys will see this right away. To do B times 12.8, to get rid of that, we're going to divide by 12.8. And then you'll get B equals, I am going to use my calculator on this one. So I'm going to take the number 76.8. I'm going to divide it by that 12.8. And then I get B, this side crossed off, right? Because that's 1. So B is equal to 6, right? So for 6 is T. So our answer for this one is 6. For number 6, our answer is 6. So every time I see a 6, I'm going to go to T. All right, so now I know what it is, but I've still got to do number 5. So what is black and white and has lots of problems? I'm going to let you guys figure out the rest of that. Have a great day, guys. This is Monday's lesson, area of triangles and trapezoids. So have a great day. Thank you.